Have you ever wondered what kind of impact one person can have on the world? Can a single individual, acting alone, truly make a difference? Sometimes, the answer lies in the simplest of actions and in the quietest of places. This is the story of a man who lived a life dedicated to a vision, one so humble, and yet so powerful, that it transformed an entire landscape from a barren desert into a lush forest teeming with life. His name was Elzéar Bouffier, a name most people have never heard. But his story reveals a profound truth about the potential within each of us. In a forgotten corner of France, this unassuming shepherd decided that his life's work would be to bring back life to a dying land. This is the story of the man who planted trees, the man who showed us that sometimes, the greatest transformations come from the smallest acts of kindness and perseverance. It was the early 1900s, and life in the French countryside was hard. Wars had left their mark, and many villages lay abandoned, lifeless. Fields were dry, rivers had long since run dry, and entire areas were practically deserts. But amid this harsh and empty land lived a shepherd named Elzéar Bouffier. A man of few words, Elzéar didn't speak much about his vision. Instead, he simply began to plant. Day after day, he walked across the barren landscape, his only companions being his sheep and a small bag of acorns. Elzéar would walk for hours, examining the soil, searching for places where a seed might have a chance to grow. Each day, he planted one seed after another, carefully covering each one with earth. He did this not for money, not for recognition, but simply because he believed that life could return to this desolate place. For years, he worked without any sign of progress. Most people would have given up, discouraged by the emptiness, the loneliness, and the silence. But Elzéar didn't give up. Every day, he added to his forest, seed by seed, one acorn at a time. Years passed, and slowly, the landscape began to respond. Tiny green sprouts started to appear, pushing through the dry, cracked soil. At first, they were few and fragile, small reminders of life in an ocean of dust. But as time went on, more and more saplings emerged. Elzéar's forest was beginning to take root. He expanded his planting efforts beyond acorns. He began adding beech trees, maples, and even pines to create diversity, ensuring that his growing forest would be as strong and resilient as possible. His dedication was meticulous. He knew which species would thrive in different parts of the land. He knew the cycles of the seasons, the changes in the soil, and the needs of his plants. His vision wasn't just to plant trees but to rebuild an entire ecosystem from the ground up. Over time, the landscape transformed. Where there was once only dry earth, a green oasis began to take shape. Trees stood tall, providing shade and moisture to the ground below, which in turn allowed more plants to grow. Birds returned, bringing songs to the silent land. Animals slowly followed, drawn by the food and shelter that the forest offered. Decades passed, and Elzéar's forest continued to grow, spreading over miles of land. He had single-handedly revived a place that nature itself seemed to have forgotten. His trees began to reshape the local climate. The roots held the soil in place, preventing erosion, and the trees attracted rain. Streams that had dried up for years began to flow again, bringing fresh water to the earth. As the forest grew, it began to breathe life into the surrounding villages. News of the forest spread, and people started returning to the abandoned villages, drawn by the beauty and fertility of the land. They found a place transformed, a vibrant, thriving ecosystem, rich with plants, animals, and life. The forest offered food, shade, water, and shelter. It had become a sanctuary for life, a gift from a shepherd who had worked tirelessly, year after year, without expecting anything in return. Elzéar Bouffier never sought recognition for what he had done. He didn't ask for rewards or for fame. He quietly observed his forest as it grew, content to see the land filled with life. In his eyes, the sight of his trees reaching toward the sky was reward enough. By the time Elzéar Bouffier passed away, he had transformed over 3,000 acres of land. His forest covered hillsides and valleys, stretching as far as the eye could see. It was a legacy that no one could ignore, a testament to the power of one person's quiet determination and unwavering belief. Today, people remember Elzéar's story as a lesson. It reminds us that sometimes, the greatest acts of courage aren't loud or celebrated, they are the quiet, consistent efforts to make the world a better place, one small step at a time. LZR's work continues to inspire us because it teaches us about the potential within each of us to create change. His life shows us that, no matter how vast the desert may seem, even the smallest seed can bring forth a forest if it's nurtured with care and persistence. We don't have to be famous, or powerful, or wealthy to make a difference. All it takes is the decision to start, to believe in the possibility of change, and to act. LZR Bouffier's story is a reminder of what is possible when one person dares to believe in a dream. Just like every great forest starts with a single seed, every change starts with a single step. So ask yourself today, what is the change that you want to see in the world? And what seed will you plant to make it happen?